What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. First mission of today is to try and get this freaking AYC pump apart. So I ran to Lowe's this morning. Oh, I did break the O-ring as well, so gonna definitely have to replace that. But anyways, ran to Lowe's this morning and picked up this Burnzomatic torch. This thing puts out some serious heat. Hopefully we'll be able to get this aluminum hot enough right here. And I think this and this should both slide off together. I could be wrong there. Not really sure, never pulled one of these apart. But regardless, you can see how rusty that bolt is. So I'm guessing it's that way all the way through. And if we heat it up, it's gonna heat up the aluminum. Aluminum expands faster than steel. So technically, if we heat it up enough, it should pop apart. Let's give it a shot, see what happens. So I got this piece off, but where did it break at? It cracked right here. Super thin area. I don't really see how any of this worked in the first place. It's all so crusty. The bearing is crusty. Everything's so crusty. I'm gonna tear into the rest of the pump. I just wanna see what all is inside of an AYC pump. It's kind of why I started, and to clean it up of course, but I'm really curious to see what is inside. Well, that plan changed really fast. I'm trying to get these bolts out so we can actually get this piece off, and this one just snapped off completely. So this whole pump's trash, unfortunately. All right, moving on to something a little bit more productive for the day. Let's jump over to the wiring harness. I'm gonna go through again one more time, blow every single connector out with compressed air. Like we discussed yesterday, I'm also gonna be using dielectric grease. I always think that's a good idea. And then right here, it looks like some of that electrical tape ripped off. So we're gonna be redoing that. And other than that, this thing turned out really nice, super clean. Hopefully we can figure out how it goes. No, I'm playing, we can definitely figure it out. It's actually fairly simple because the harness is kind of shaped to exactly where it needs to go. So as soon as we get, where's that giant boot that goes through the firewall? Oh, right here. As soon as we get this in, we know all of this, these three pigtails right here, or these three harnesses on this end, those all go to interior. Very simple to remember. That's ECU. That was the passenger side little junction connector area. That is for the O2 sensor. And then that is for some stuff in the center console. All very simple. This guy here runs up to the wiper motor for the windshield wipers, ABS, some relays and whatnot on that relay panel that we powder coated yesterday. This guy here. So that's where those two connectors go. So yeah, as you can see, it's not really all that complicated. As we're going through, if we have opportunities and chances to tuck it in cleaner places, that's what we're gonna do. I have been talking with multiple different people that have done a full wire tuck with like a fuse box relocation and all of that. So we may go down that rabbit hole. A lot of people explain it to me like it's not really all that complicated. This giant fuse box right here sits right here, and it would be so clean if we could just not have that on there. It's so beautiful looking right now. Pretty much everyone is mounting it down here, right where the AYC pump sits. We'll figure that out later. For now, let's start getting this thing installed.
How you can restore your wiring harness.
I tried to call Austin, my brother, to discuss with him how he went about redoing his entire harness on the TDI swap truck. It'd be a lot of fun, not gonna lie, to learn wiring a lot better. I know, and some of you guys probably know if you've been watching the channel for a while, wiring is definitely like my weak point. I don't know anything about wiring, electrical. I really don't know, like I don't understand electrical. When we're having an electrical problem, it always takes me a while to figure it out. So it'd be fun to like start from the basics and kind of run through the whole harness, delete all the stuff we don't need, which would be all of the evap stuff, the EGR stuff, all that can be pulled out of the harness, out of the loom itself, and then extend all the wires for the fuse box, relocate the fuse box. It'd be a lot of fun. I don't know. It'd also be a lot of work. Not gonna lie. Maybe we'll do like parts of the harness to start. Down the road, do a whole thing. I don't know. Either way, it's all cleaned up, so we can start throwing it in the car. I want to be extra careful. This paint is so fresh still. What is it, 2 days old? And I'm sure it still scratches fairly easy. We gotta be fairly careful when we're working in here, at least for probably a week. It takes a good amount of time. I really want to do this fuse box relocation. We got quite a bit of wiring done on the firewall. You're not really going to see any of that wiring down there. That's all pretty much hidden. Still need to situate some stuff up here. We could almost even like relocate all of those relays down. That'd be super easy to do. Might look into that later, but for now I really want to focus on this gosh dang fuse box. It's such a big ugly thing. So stock, there's all this wiring that runs over this motor mount area right here. I think, I'm gonna go look at the black 8, but I think there's plenty of space underneath right here to run all the wiring. And if we run it on the bottom of the frame rail and have that fuse box sitting right here, I don't know why that wouldn't work. I would have to like mock everything up, kind of throw the AYC pump on here, throw the headlight on, bumper, fender, get everything mocked up, but I think it'd be so nice. It'd be a lot of wiring that we'd have to extend, which honestly scares me because I don't really know how to solder, not gonna lie. I've always just used those like quick solder connection type things. You just heat them up, pretty much like a heat shrink thing. And if I'm gonna do this, I wanna like actually solder it together properly. So I don't know, I still need to get a hold of Austin. He knows everything about wiring in the world. So if he calls me back, we can talk with him. If not, we'll figure it out. So if you look down underneath that motor mount, you can see that there's quite a bit of space, but this is a 5-speed, the Blue 8's a 6-speed, so it might be a little bit different, but I'm fairly confident we can make that work. Let's just test the waters. I'm gonna mock up the AYC pump on all the brackets, get that whole thing like sitting where it needs to be, get the headlight on there. I guess we could just set on the fender and just see how much space there is. I know there's other people that have done it, so I don't know why we couldn't do it, but I wanna like make sure for myself before I just start like cutting apart the entire harness. All right, we're doing it. Like I always say, as soon as something enters my brain, like, we should probably do this. It'd be cool to do this. I will not sleep until I decide we do it. And that's something I learned in my life. Now when I have that thought, I just act on it. I'm like, okay, we want to relocate the fuse box. Don't wait a week to do it. And we are going to figure it out. We have the headlight on. I know exactly where the bumper sits. It obviously comes all the way out to here. There's so much space right here for that fuse box to sit. There is a guy, Brandon on Facebook, has been a huge help. He actually did the same exact thing. Right next to the AOIC pump, right under the headlight, that's where his sits, and his bay is dummy clean on this car. It's actually a fairly similar combo, black bay with the yellow and blue. So it looks pretty sick. If he was able to figure it out, we can too. Know what I'm saying? I'm gonna start trying to whip up some brackets. I honestly didn't expect to be doing this today. I thought we were gonna be doing other things all day, but it's all good. I am excited. I'm very excited to get this done. It's gonna clean up the bay tremendously. I'm gonna build the brackets for the fuse box first, get everything mounted, and then as soon as it's mounted, I know everything's gonna clear. Then we can move on to the wiring. Because I still need to do research on wiring, like the best way to make sure we have a perfect connection that's never gonna fail. This right here is what we ended up with. There is actually a lot of space back there. So there's probably about 1 inch in between the pump and the fuse box, 2 inches in between the box and the bumper, and then a ton of space in between the box and the headlight. Now that we got the mounting situated, obviously these aren't the brackets, guys. These are just mock-up brackets. I want to build some out of steel. As of right now, it's a little bit floppy. Now I feel like the difficult part is gonna be the wiring. What do we gotta do? Let me think about it. All right, guys, we have made a ton of progress on this fuse box relocation. Got the box mounted up with some temporary stuff. Harness is kind of ran where it needs to be. I want to clean it up a little bit, get it sitting nice and flush. Here's all the stuff for the headlight, and then it runs down from here, from like right here where the headlight sits, that way is all stock, all OEM. It's all hidden from the factory. Don't gotta touch it. This wire right here that runs to the fusible link that connects to the battery, that is plenty long enough. We do still need to build a fusible link bracket because we're doing the Evo10 setup on this car. So this right here connects or clips onto the side of the fuse box right up there. Those are the only wires we need to extend. There are two thicker ones right there, which are what, like 8 gauge maybe? And then a bundle of wires inside this. Everything else though, plenty long enough to easily connect to anything that we need to connect it to. All these are long enough, everything's long enough. Super excited for that. That's kind of how it's gonna run, is underneath that motor mount like we discussed earlier. From pretty much like that Y right there, over is all stock. And then as far as like the injectors and all that stuff, we can deal with that later on when we actually have a motor in the car. We're gonna clean all that up. All that will be ran underneath the intake manifold so you can't really see it. Of course, there's gonna be wires here and there that you can see, like injector wires, coil packs, all that good stuff. You're gonna see a little bit of that, but for the most part, this bay is gonna look much better. No more fuse box right here. We are gonna have the fusible link set up right here, so we need to build a little mount that comes down, over, and then back down and bolts right there. And then the fusible link will bolt right there. That's where all the junctions will connect. And then our main power wire will run through, connect it, or go to the battery, which is in the trunk Bam, done. Beautiful. I'm excited. Heck yes, I'm glad we did this. There are 2 ground wires we need to ground out. So there's this bunch right here. We can easily just ground it to that bowl right there. And then we have another one right here that we could easily just pop up to like right there or something. Now, of course, we're going to be having to order up some inner fenders for this thing, just so the fuse box is fairly protected from the elements. I think we should be fine though. If anyone sees a problem with the fuse box right here, drop a comment below, but I think for the most part, we'll be all right. Honestly, guys, I'm very excited that we're doing this. It was way easier to put it there than I figured. That's why in the past I always said, no, we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. We did it. We done did it. And it's going to be so much better. I think we should probably make a little parts run before everywhere closes, being the weekend. See if we can't find a good soldering kit. I know we need some flux, some solder, a soldering gun, some extra wire. And then I want to get some actual steel to build the brackets for the fuse box mounts. All right, this is what we picked up. A big old thing of wire, 22 gauge to 10 gauge, Harbor Freight special soldering kit, heat shrink, some little helper hands, Testa tape, electrical tape, some loom clamps, and yeah, that's about it. The only thing I could not find is actual wiring loom, but we can get everything extended. And then whenever we can find loom, I think we need like 3/4 inch, maybe 1 inch loom. We can get it like 100% finished up. But oh yeah, and some steel, some good old thick, real thick steel. This is going to be nice and solid. So the first thing I want to do actually is rebuild the mounts real quick. Should be fairly simple. It's literally 2 brackets both with a 90-degree bend in it, 1 hole on each side. Let's get it cut up, drilled, bent, and then you already know we have to powder coat it. We're not going to leave the steel bare. Let's get that situated. I think Bobby's here. Hello?
Hi.
What's up, fool? You come and hang out with Mr. Dev?
With Papa.
Look what I'm doing. I'm doing the thing.
What?
The one thing that I talked about that I said I would probably never do, I'm doing it. The good old fuse box relocation. Follow me. I'll show you all about it. I'm building my new brackets right now, so she's nice and solid.
Does it make you happy?
So factory, she sits right up here, right? Just right in the way. Like, nah,
Okay.
not very cool. And we're putting it down here. And it's gonna sit under the headlight. The reason we're doing this, Haas, is so you don't see it. You'll
Because
never.
it's ugly.
It's kind of ugly, huh? Isn't it just an ugly little box?
Yeah, it is.
And then we have to extend the harness. And factory, the harness runs deep up and over. Ton of wiring right here. Everything's gonna go underneath. So you're literally like going to the motor. You don't even. What?
You seem a little too excited for this.
Well, I'm just really stoked that, you know, the harness is hidden, the fuse box is hidden.
Yeah, it's gonna look really good, babe.
It's gonna be banger.
It is.
So technically we could have deleted that bracket right there. So I might have to cut that off and respray the entire bay.
You're right. I wouldn't let you do that.
Brackets are all finished up. Very, very nice and solid. Probably more solid than it is stock. That's all we did here is a little angle bracket. There's already threads in the frame, so I just went off of that. Came up, out, bolted to that factory mount. Same concept here. This is the bracket that runs out to the fender. Drilled a little hole in that bracket, went down and over, and then drilled a little hole in that mount right there for the fuse box. And that's how she sits. Near factory, near mint. Let's get the oven preheated to get these things powder coated black so it looks even more factory, and we can deal with that wiring. The 2 brackets are currently in the oven, baking on that powder. In the meantime, we gotta figure out what we're doing with this harness. All right, let me take a seat. Like I mentioned earlier, these 2 wires here, the red and blue, which connect to this connector. And then this whole pack right here, we need to extend all those. So I'm gonna peel, these 2 are easy. That's just 2 wires. Bam, bam, done. So I'm gonna peel back this loom right here and I guess start cutting wires and extending them. So we got everything cut that we needed to cut. A little bit sketchy doing it, a little bit scary, but there's looks like about 12 wires total that we are extending. So what I'm gonna do is solder on the wiring to this guy here, and then we can get the fuse box bolted up, get this clipped on in place, sitting where it needs to sit, and then run the harness or all the new wires over to the harness right there, trim them, solder them into that side. But we gotta figure out how to solder first. I've tried it a few times in the past, never really been able to dial it in. And of course, stuff like this, we need it to be perfect, spot on. So let's mess around for a while and hopefully we can get it figured out. Okay, so I think I finally, for the first time in my life, pretty sure I was able to properly solder a wire together. It doesn't even come apart. That's the test I wanted to do. I feel like I want to break the wire first. Well, you guys just saw up close in detail what we did, and I think we did it right based off some of the other videos I watched. But if I'm doing it wrong, comment below. So now we have this little connection, right? Good old soldered connection. And we don't want to leave her in the element, so I'm going to throw a little dielectric grease on that guy and then throw some heat shrink over it. And now we have this little pigtail. This wire kind of feels a little bit, you know, Harbor Freight-ish, a little cheesy. So I'm not hyped on that, but I also want to get this harness done tonight. If we have problems in the future, we'll just call Harbor Freight and tell them to buy us new iron. Okay, let's finish this guy up real quick.
Good job, Haga.
Who's Haga? Is that me?
It's you.
We got quite a bit done. I think we did 8 wires so far and we have 4 left. I really wish we had all of the proper wire colors to match the OEM. That'd be pretty nice, but we're just gonna have to trace it back. We'll figure it out. But we got the brackets out of the oven. Hopefully they're cooled down by now. Oh yeah, all cooled down. Let's get these things installed and see how it looks. That's how they turned out. Beautiful. OEM AF. Projector test. Solid?
Very solid.
You can buy my bracket kit for 20 bucks. I know it may not look like much right now because we still have a long ways to go, but trust me, trust the process. It's gonna look absolutely amazing when it's all finished up. All those wires there that run all the way over here, all that is gonna be gone. That whole area right there is gonna be just nice. Nice, painted, beautiful engine bay. I'm stoked. Thank you guys for convincing me and commenting so much to do this. And thank you to everyone that I've talked to about doing this, because without all you guys, I probably wouldn't have mustered up the courage to dive in and try to figure this out. And I'm glad we did, because it's gonna look absolutely, I've said it 1,000 times, it's gonna look sick when we're all finished up. I think we should be able to get everything wrapped up tomorrow, provided all goes smooth. Drop a comment down below, let me know what you guys are thinking of this project. Peace out, I'll see you tomorrow.